Hello, my name's Lizzie. I'm Anglican. In just over 3 months' time, I'm going to be moving into a convent ready to become a postulant, and I am far from perfect.
I will hold your people in my heart.
People who feel called to religious life aren't necessarily people who've had like really squeaky clean pasts or who are really goody, pure, perfect kind of people. I've read lots of stuff in books and watched lots of stuff on YouTube about where monks and nuns talk about maybe their misspent youths before they entered religious life, or just about like the weaknesses and the bruises that they took into the monastery or the convent with them. Just because you or I don't feel like perfect people, like the kind of pure enough person that we think should be looking at religious life, that doesn't mean that God might not be calling us to it. And actually, there's never going to come a time really when I actually feel good enough to go ahead and become a postulant. So I suppose there's no point hanging around waiting for such a time. I mean, yeah, the reality is that, yeah, I've switched to wearing skirts recently, but no amount of changing my outfit or putting on a nun's habit is actually going to change like my inner bad habits or everything that's inside me. And I might be busy at the moment giving away some of the contents of my flat or working out what things I'm going to put into storage. But there are lots of things inside me that I can't just give away like that. And there are lots of things that I suppose will always kind of be inside me in storage that will possibly never go away, or that God might be able to turn into a gift for others in the future. I'm starting to make lists of items of what I'll leave behind and what things I'll take with me into the convent. But what I can't control is the reality that when I enter the convent, I'll also be taking all my weaknesses, all my annoying personality traits that people have to put up with, all my like metaphorical bruises from the past. All of those things will come into the convent with me. I made a video a few weeks ago about my understanding of what holiness is and how nuns, I don't think, are any holier than any other Christians. And I don't think nuns are any less broken or any more perfect either. And I'm sure they'd be the first to say that, because when you have less distractions in your life and more time for solitude and prayer, you become increasingly aware of all the areas of brokenness inside you, or the lack of love inside you. And when you live in community, living alongside others makes you more aware of your weaknesses and your unhealed hurts from the past that other people might like bump into, say. And some of those things might actually need a kind of healing that takes a whole lifetime. So just like people talk about how the church is a hospital for sinners, I guess a religious community is too. And maybe each nun is both a patient and a nurse to the others at the same time. And actually, the way I see it, I reckon that going into a convent doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have less ways of sinning. Like they say, where there's a will, there's a way. And from what I've read, there are spiritual versions of all the classic forms of sin. So there's spiritual greed and spiritual pride, etc. But I don't think any of this should put me off exploring a vocation to religious life. If God's calling me to it, then God's calling me to it, and I shouldn't say no or delay because I don't feel good enough or anything like that. And really, like, if God's calling me to this religious community, then he's calling all of me to this community, like warts and all. And maybe God doesn't only want to use our good qualities and our gifts in our vocations. Maybe God wants to use our pasts and our weaknesses in our vocations too. So if God's calling me to religious life, then God's calling my whole life and all the imperfections in my life to religious life too.